So, who was up until 3 o'clock waiting for something that didn't happen yesterday? It's not very often the whole world looks to one news item at the same time and waits with bated breath for the outcome.
Yes.
The rockets raining down on Iraq all those years ago, and we watched on CNN as it happened live.
Mm.
Uh, for those of us who are old enough, the first man on the moon,
Yeah. Yes.
Neil Armstrong's one small step for man moment.
Yes.
And up to a certain point, Artemis 2 on its journey around the moon to splash down tomorrow night
Yeah.
at 20:07 hours local time.
Mm.
And of course, last night, when the Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte,
Mm.
met with US President Donald Trump to discuss the NATO will he, won't he debacle.
Yeah.
Rutte went to the White House with an ear the size of an African elephant's to absorb the complaints and frustrations of a man, a very powerful man, come to that,
Yeah.
uh, coming to the boil.
Mm. Yes.
So, many talking heads speculating if the US will or will not leave NATO, and consequently the Western world without security from the North Americans.
Yeah.
Rutte, bless him, took the flak and in the White House kept tight-lipped. This was a listening operation, not a talking
Yeah.
operation, Rutte.
Yeah.
After the prolonged meeting and Rutte came away, there was no press conference as was the norm after an important visit.
Mm.
It left the journalistic world perplexed and it had to work on what it could get its hands on.
Mm.
So Rutte went on CNN for an interview and very diplomatically gave Trump the reason,
Mm.
gently throwing the likes of Germany, Italy, and even the UK under the bus
Mm.
somewhat, saying that some NATO members could have done more. Silence from the European nations.
Mm.
There are some comments made by insiders, as there
Yeah.
always are,
Yeah.
which suggest the retaliation was on the cards,
Mm.
as those comments were all the journos had to work with, and column inches needed to be filled about the subject.
Yeah.
This is what they run with. There will be some punishment to be dealt out, and it will look something like this.
Mm.
So let's go what I've gleaned from different articles and different places. And
Yeah.
so
Well,
let me tell you what they are.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So
Yes.
who's gonna get cudgeled? Right. Spain, the biggest thorn in the side of the US, not allowing the US neither use its bases nor its airspace for missions related to the Iran conflict. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez even went on to say that the actions of the US were illegal.
Mm.
So Trump hasn't forgotten this, and so it's likely the Spanish Roton and Moron bases could be phased out. It's where the Americans
Yeah.
have their US bases there. They might
Yeah.
be phased out, they might be taken away, so
Yeah.
that Spain has got no American security
Mm.
at all.
Mm.
France, Macron wouldn't even allow the US to use the France's airspace for planes heading to Israel with military supplies.
Mm.
He prohibited that. Trump said France was very unhelpful and said that the US will remember.
Mm.
All the grandstanding by France, whilst the US did the heavy work, put them on the naughty step and put them at the front of the queue for US troop reductions on their soil. So if any American troops, the first American troops to be removed from Europe are going to be on from France.
Yeah.
Italy, for their part, would not allow US military planes land at their air bases in Sigonella, Sicily. Another ally that talked tough but folded like a cheap suit when push came almost to shove. Didn't get to push comes to shove, but almost to
Yeah.
shove,
Yes.
as is Italy's want. Germany also came under fire for their "not our war" comment.
Yeah. Okay.
The leader of Germany said it's not our
Yeah.
war.
Yeah. Yes.
The US called them cowards and declared the US will not be there to defend them anymore if they will not fight themselves. On the other hand, Poland, Czech Republic, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia were being praised, and the troops removed from France and Italy and Spain could very well end up going to them to bolster their security because they did everything that the US asked from them. Portugal also towed the line, permitting US flights to use the bases in the Azores. Reliable, Portugal. Trump like that.
Yeah.
He remembers that sort of thing.
Yes.
The UK's fence sitting but eventual permission to allow use of their air bases is still walking the tightrope. So the jury's still out on that one.
Yeah. Okay. I've got. Yeah.
Albania and North Macedonia also got respect, shout outs, being recognized as a for US nation rather than being an again US nation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
So basically, these are what some journalists are saying would probably happen. Now, I got all this information overnight. Okay, this morning early there was another piece that came out saying that Trump is giving the European nations 5 days to get their ships together.
Yeah.
And their shit together.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
To free the Straits of Hormuz.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It seems he's getting quite generous at the moment. Okay. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm not going to say I don't want to say like Starmer. Yes, I do sit on the fence sometimes and ponder these things. Yeah. I don't go all hail King Trump anymore. I do all hail King Starmer. Yeah. I don't even go all hail Charles III at the moment.
Well, I think the only answer the only
Yeah.
question that needs to be answered is should the NATO members have sent any help to the US when it was needed?
Well, this is the point I'm going to make. Is I'm sitting here now. As I always say to people, okay, you can be anti-Trump, say should do that. You have to, in order to beat your enemy, you have to try and think like them. Yeah, and those that are Trump naysayers should be thinking like this. You've got to be looking at it. What made him behave the way he did? Iran has been a problem for 50 years. I don't think anyone can deny that. It's certainly even neighboring states to it. Yeah. Many presidents said they would do something about it, including Trump in his last administration. Yeah, but his hands were tied. Suddenly, what's happened in the US? You've actually got a president who does what he wrote on the tin. Yeah, he's tackling the problems as he sees it. And it has caught the world by surprise. Don't forget, we as a world now, we've got, I'm going to call them political elites because I can't think of another term for them. They've all for years, certainly the past 30 years, all got this nice cozy arrangement. It doesn't matter what happens, bad regime, good regime. We'll keep the status quo, we keep the balance because it's good for us, and it means we don't actually have to make a decision. Yeah, and this included the US as well. And along came Trump in the last term. He said some things that were very uncomfortable for leaders and the leaders across Europe, and they laughed at him. Yeah, doesn't matter what the subject was, they laughed at him. Trump was a figure of fun. Yeah, oh yeah, you can't take him seriously. We can control him and all that. Sorry, guys. This guy used to wake up and do multi-billion deals for breakfast before breakfast. Yeah. He does not think like a politician. He might not think what's going to happen 10 years, 15 years in advance. I need to, yeah, he'll think long term for America, but he's thinking, I've got these problems to deal with. His to-do list is incredible. Yeah. And that's how he operates. He's a businessman. He's got a to-do list. I've got to tackle these problems before I can think about what's going to come next. And that's what he's doing. And to suddenly people are all shocking, oh, shock horror, Trump is going to leave NATO. I think the guy's been saying that for 30 years as well in interviews.
But that isn't the question.
Yeah.
The question is, should the NATO members have helped the US when the US was asking for help?
Well, and this is the point I'm getting to now. Okay, I do it long way. The Americans still pay for these bases across Europe, disregard anything else. Yeah. And this is it. They pay for it. And like I say, pay for the defense of Europe. For some reason, the leaders across Europe do not see the Iranian regime as a problem, despite it funding terrorism that has taken place on British soil, French soil, Italian soil. It happened in Italy, other places across Europe. Yeah, they still don't see it. Oh, it's minor. There's a few people get killed. You know, we don't really care. Yeah. For Trump now sees Trump. If Iran did get the nuclear weapons, and this is what it's boiled down to, yeah, the world would have a problem. Forget North Korea. Despite him being a crazy guy with his own people, North Korea don't want to die. Yeah, they don't want to die. Yeah. They talk about Putin having the biggest nuclear arsenal in the world. Putin has no intention of using it, really. Let's be honest about it, in my opinion. He doesn't want to die. Yeah, he doesn't want anyone to die. You know, I'd say he doesn't want anyone to die. Okay, he's what he is. He's a bit of a warlord, but he's a cold warrior with that. But yeah, he doesn't want the ultimate destruction of the world. When you're talking about the administration in Iran, who are, put it bluntly, religious fanatics. Yeah, I'm not saying Islam is bad or anything, but they're Islamic religious fanatics. And I'm not saying there's not Christian fanatics as well. Okay, but we look at this. They would see it as martyrdom. If they did have nuclear weapons, they would use them. They would start with Israel. They'd annihilate Israel for starters. Yep. And so Trump has made sure that their capability. Trump is claiming stopped. It's probably been reduced or put back. Yeah. Now, that has to be for the benefit of the world. Okay. The world, well, Europe does seem reluctant to get involved. And the fact that we got these bases there, and there's Trump is a businessman. He's a negotiator. He's saying, why have I got these bases here? When I need them to do something, you don't comply with me or you don't help me. Yeah, that's perfectly right and justifiable to say. If you don't ever want to help the Americans, don't have the bases there in the first place. And I thought that for years. Yeah. That. Yeah.
So what you're saying then is that the NATO members should have offered the US help when it was called for.
I'm weighing everything up, and I think yes. I'm going through a thought. I was just going through a thought process. What would I do?
Beat around the bush a little bit, but we're getting there.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to do this. I mean, I've been in project management. Sometimes, yes, if you got the opportunity to think what are outcomes, what would happen, to say yes or no. I know it sounds indecisive, but yeah, this is it. What strategy? What benefit? And yes, the Europeans have got to think what benefit of this to do with us. Now, you're sitting there. Let's pretend we're Starmer. Okay, let's get into Starmer's head. God help us, but yeah, he's sitting there. I mean, he has done everything to have his cake and eat it. Starmer has. Yeah, the French said definitely no to something. Really, the Spanish said definitely no to something. Italy wavered. because Meloni, she's got a bit of a problem. She wants to be mates with the Trump administration, but she also wants to still remain friendly with the European neighbours. That is an Italian way as well. That's a trait the Italians always have had as well. Starmer was playing a game of wait and see, and now if I was sitting where Starmer was, would I be concerned? Yes, I would be. Yeah. What is Trump going to do? What is the end game? What am I going to get involved with? Because the way Starmer sees it, and Starmer has now had to admit, or the British have now have to admit, and I think this is what was behind Starmer holding back, and possibly the rest of Europeans. We don't have a frigging military across Europe, one that's of any use for this operation. Yeah?
Right. I mean, they can't send something that they don't have.
Yeah.
And what they did send broke down again.
Yeah. I mean, HMS Dragon was just embarrassing, but okay, shit happens. Yeah.
Not so many times like that.
I don't know. What's the warranty like on it? Yeah. It's got to go back to the dealership.
Well, there you are. I mean, it's gone past its sell by date a long time ago. As has the rest of the British military. But that's another story. We've covered this before. I've covered this before, and I've talked about the British politicians beating the chest with Putin. When they don't have anything to back up.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, the Russians are still in Ukraine, and nobody's winning or losing the war, if you believe it. But now suddenly, this is it. By getting now involved, by allowing the Americans to do it, you are then involved.
I think that Trump has given the member states their last chance. He said you've got 5 days to get your tackle up to the Straits of Hormuz and to liberate it.
He's doing the art of the deal. He's doing the art of the deal. Exactly doing it. And that's the point I'm making with him. The way, as I said, you've got to get inside his head, and you've also got inside Starmer's head. But
like Trump has always said, you've got to be prepared to walk away.
Yeah. And well, that's the same with it.
That's what he's prepared to do.
Well, he's all but walked away from the UN. He's walked away from the WHO. Things that he sees are not good for the US. And he is a nationalist. Okay.
Of course he is.
And people say, "Oh, yeah, he's not a globalist." To say he's not a globalist is wrong. He knows he used to do trades with Chinese when he was a businessman, and anyone that could do business with, he will do business with you if you're not prepared to help him. He has a different mindset. He doesn't play the smooth political or mustn't cause any ruptions or rumble. Yeah, even if it's bad.
Trump was also extremely angry about Greenland. Because for all intents and purposes, Greenland was being abused by Denmark.
Yeah.
It was underinvested by Denmark, and even the Greenlandish people were abused when they went to Denmark because they were like the Polish in the UK doing the menial jobs,
Yeah.
And so when Trump appeared and offered them to become richer than their wildest dreams, Denmark saw this and they said no. By no means this happened.
Well, yeah, I mean,
for no apparent reason, because they could have expanded the well.
Well, I mean, this is it. The deal's still on the table, and ultimately that will have to be up to the people of probably Greenland who have to turn around to their politicians and say, "Well, we quite like this, and we'll get US citizenship. We'll have US people." We'll have US capabilities come here. I mean, who knows? That could be the next ideal place to actually have IT hubs, IT farms, etc. Because it's nice and cold and keeps you cool. But
I think if the member states of NATO they continue on this track where they are going, the TDS that their leaders seem to have, then the US is going to walk away.
Well, I think, I agree with you. I think NATO's finished. I said years ago, the US is NATO. I mean, I actually saw something this week, actually very strange. I mean, it was a bit of a satirical thing that the European leaders never thought they might actually be going into conflict with America, with all the might that America has. I'm not saying that will happen, and yeah, that would be an incredible turn of events. But um, it's, I mean, but let's be honest about it. You've got Putin who's sitting who's got no desire to invade the rest of Europe. Therefore, from that point of view, NATO is redundant. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
NATO has proved that it's of no threat because Russia is still in Ukraine. If you agree or disagree with what's going on in Ukraine and the Russian actions,
Well,
if
that's we'll let's keep that one to another podcast
yeah,
because
but
we're covering
yeah,
this in about 5 minutes time.
yeah, but it is a so in short answer to your question, yes, and just reading online, a majority of the British people think so what if or Europeans think so what if he had have used allowed them to use the bases, it had sent a strong message to yeah to rogue nations, let's put it bluntly.
Yeah.
I know that Starmer, Mers, and other European leaders are probably worried about how a certain demographic in their population reacts. The
Yeah,
weirdest
yeah.
things on the streets that I saw were Iranian people who are living across Europe saying, "Yeah, go Trump, yeah," and non-Iranian people, you don't know what you're talking about, yeah, almost to these people.